Question: do you like anime waifus and guns? Then today's video might just be for you. We're talking about Duet Night Abyss, a brand new fantasy adventure RPG brought to you and developed by Pan Studio. They came to me today and said, hey, do you want to take a look at the game early? I said, sure. So I'm happy to announce that we are sponsored by them today to take a look at the game. But do not fear, I will not hold back on the good and the bad. I wanted to make this video as a sort of review, so you know if this is a game that you'll be interested in playing or not, because I myself hadn't heard about them before, and I think they are on to something really special. So let's talk about it. Today we're covering first reactions to the game, along with 3 main criteria for ranking the game overall. Number 1, we'll be taking a look at the combat system. Number 2, we're checking out the character building system. And finally, how is the story overall from the first couple hours of gameplay? So at the time of recording, I've played for about 2 to 3 hours so far, which I think is just about enough time to give a pretty good review of how it plays. Right away, the music is good. I mean, like, it's really, really good. It's like floating on a cloud, man. An elegant cloud. Oh, that's a hello. Music is on point. Everybody who knows me knows I'm a sucker for a good track. So if you're a big music nerd and like something that gives you chills down your spine, that's a good start. We're off to a great start. Quickly after this, I actually started the game because I haven't done that yet. It's set in this creepy graveyard full of sand. You're not really sure what's going on, but all you know is that there's a voice calling to you from the top and you're trying to make your way up there. Shortly after this, you just kind of sink into sand, and I thought I just died, but apparently not. Right after all this happens, I wake up to somebody named Barry. The main idea is that this whole island that we're on has been ransacked by a species of creature named filthoids. That is such a disgusting name for a creature. They definitely look filthy, except for this one. This one's kind of bad. But anyways, this is where I got to see the uniqueness of the combat. I hate comparing games to other games, but all I can really think of when I play this is something like Devil May Cry. A mixture between using things like claymores and assault rifles interchangeably whenever against swarms and hordes of enemies is that fast hack and slash swapping that my brain is addicted to. The first thing that separates this game from most of the other games that are out there on the market that are similar is the movement. You're basically parkouring the entire time you're playing this game. You can double jump, helix leap, and even slide into the ground. So the range of movement is incredible. I'll say that it didn't feel too usable in the initial level of the game, mainly because it's a tutorial, just kind of showing you how to move around. But I imagine that this is going to come in later to be kind of challenging. I at least hope it is. I hope it gets really challenging later to parkour around things while you're fighting them, being aware of both where you are on the map and also how you're fighting the enemy in front of you. If they can execute that and make it really challenging to utilize this unique movement system, it makes for just a killer combo. We need more things like this in gaming. This is one area of my review where I really think they went beyond the bounds of what we're used to in this genre, and I had fun. It was so cool. This is one area where I have little to no complaints. Now, later on, you do get more weapons, which means the way you combo stuff is different too. Assault rifles versus shotguns mixed in with claymores versus pole arms. It can be so different, so many mix and matches. And not to mention, if they keep updating the game over time, putting new weapons in, that can kind of be the learning curve for most players. Like how to play around the best weapons in the game. What's the best swapping method? What if they added in something like grenades or other things to deter enemies at some point? The sky really is the limit for this type of system, and I think more games need to adopt things like this. But overall, for the combat and movement system of the game, I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. I was blown away by how cool and fun and intuitive it was. This is one area where I don't think they need to change anything, only add more things on top of it. Moving on to number 2, we're gonna talk about the characters. I think the character building system is equally as important as learning the mechanics of the game itself, because in games like this, getting your character to where they need to be on par with the current world difficulty of the game is extremely important. It needs to be intuitive, it needs to be easy, it needs to pretty much just be something that someone like me, brand new and not really like the best, can just pick up and adopt pretty quickly. From the characters I've seen so far, I really like the design. Now, at my current point of the story, I've only unlocked 2 main characters to play. Number 1, Branica, and number 2, Rebecca. Both of these characters are DPS/support. Let's talk about Branica first. When attacking in the game, it's visually very pretty. There's this red trail that follows after any normal attack, and it's easy to swap over to the gun at a moment's notice. I think it's also really cool that while you're playing this and killing enemies, they're dropping ammo for you to pick it back up so you can constantly reload. I haven't found a scenario yet where I feel like I'm at a loss for ammo. Her E ability is really cool because it unleashes this fury of like red attacks, just AoE everywhere, doing so much damage. And as you can see at the bottom, it's slowly regaining energy over time. Little points to allow you to do either your buff or your E widespread damage. And now that I have a little bit back, I can do my Q, and it unleashes this ultimate burst, just a sight of damage. I feel bad for unleashing it on all these innocent people, but you get the point. You know what I'm saying? Barry's E skill is called Faint Light, and what it does is allows you to rush forward, dealing AoE damage 4 times along the way. It's visually stunning. It's really cool. Then after that, we have the Nether Flames. It'll just basically throw out one big sword wave, and for shortly after that, while attacking with whatever weapon you have on, it'll keep sending out those sword waves. Now, while you're doing this, it'll consume sanity, which is the little energy at the bottom of your screen that builds back up. Also, it's worth noting that while she's doing this, she's immune to hit stun, which means she'll never be knocked back. It's kind of like an interruption resistance. Once the sanity or energy runs out fully, your weapon will be sheathed and you go back to your normal attacks. I like to cycle between these two and then just start spraying my gun everywhere because, well, American. I think it's worth noting that she also has recuperation, which gives a chance for even more sanity restoration over time while dealing damage to enemies. As you can see, she has a wide range of weapon availability, from pole arms to claymores and swords. Now, I just got this one. What the heck? I haven't even seen this yet. Is this like a shotgun? Oh my god. It's like a rocket launcher. It's things like this, man. Being able to cycle in between normal attacks of this weapon and then just start firing a rocket launcher. This is kind of high up here for combat. I do like that she has a ultimate weapon or a consonance weapon. You know how I hit that Q button? She gets this whipped out. She pulls this out and uses it for the duration of the sanity. But it's nice to have like a dedicated weapon to her, and then also something that multiple characters can use. Now, Rebecca is a Hydro type character. I think one cool detail about swapping characters is that when you fire with her, the bullets are blue now. They were red before. For Barry, they just kind of match the type of character. That's a cool little detail. So now that I have my E online, let's try it out here. I believe it just summons jellyfish. Now, these jellyfish are called Aurelian Caress. Up to 3 of them can exist at the same time, and they help you with summoned item damage. On top of that, she has Lada Love Dew, which deals hydro damage to surrounding enemies. The damage is increased based on the number of Poison of Love stacks inflicted on the target, which her whole thing is like poison. Like she wants to take us like on a poison date or something. Battle starts.
My venom is surging like my passion for love. Hurry up. I don't want to ruin our date by being late.
Is she in love with me? I can't tell. But that's mainly good for this character because she inflicts poison damage over time. When Rebecca's using a melee weapon and dealing damage, she inflicts 1 buff of stack of poison to the target. And you can get up to 6 stacks of this. So, I mean, so far with these characters, man, there's nothing to really complain about. They're fun. They have a lot of range. They're uniquely designed. I like the voices for both of them as well. But one thing I wish the game did have was a hot swap ability between the characters. It seemed to be able to play as my one character right now until I hit C on my keyboard and swap over to the other character, and then I can play as them. This is some points off for me. I wish it was hot swap immediately. Maybe it's something that comes later in the game. I'm just not there in the story yet. For our first impressions, the characters are pretty much perfect. They just need to be able to swap out pretty quickly. Minor note on top of all that is that they do have like an artifact system called Demon Wedges that can go onto both your weapons, and they can also do the same thing for the character themselves. And on the surface, you might think to yourself, cool. I mean, artifacts, that's kind of common in a lot of these types of games, but here's the difference. Here's the really cool thing. These are Demon Wedge loadouts, which means I can have a different loadout on my A slot than I do my B slot. This is gonna be nice for builds down the road when you want to try different things out fast. A lot of other games should just have this naturally, I think. This is big points for having right off the bat. Building the characters are so easy because of things like this. It helps new players out, especially with auto equip in the bottom right. All you have to do is hit auto equip and bang, there you go. Best recommended pieces for your character, just like that. The less time thinking, the more time having fun, the better it is. Overall, I'm giving the characters and the character building system a solid 9 out of 10. There's not really a lot to improve on other than the hot swap thing I was talking about earlier, but this is easy to get in, pick your favorite characters, put stuff on immediately, and start playing. So that's 2 really big scores so far for both the actual combat and then the character and the character building system. Lastly, we gotta talk about the story, at least what I've seen of it so far. Now, my current part of the story, all I've really done is the big intro mission and a little bit beyond that. So I've gotten to the main city of the game, seeing a lot of the main characters. I would say that my first impressions are that this is very immersive. I want to know the story of the graveyard in my mind, along with whatever that voice was, on top of what caused filthoids, why they're invading where I live, the sexy fine woman that stole Barry away from me. All of this was encompassed very, very well in a short like hour or two section of playing the game. The biggest thing that I can't wait to see them do though is add the voice acting. Now, characters have voice lines that I've shown you even earlier in this video, but in the early stages of the game, it's all just dialogue you have to read yourself, which to a degree I don't really mind because it gives me a little bit of voice to the character. That is my own like head canon. This thing has such potential to be so rich, and I know they have the voice actors lined up for it. It's already announced that they're gonna have it in Chinese, Japanese, I believe Korean and English, so I cannot wait to see on full release how they do, who they've picked, how this whole thing goes. I don't want to spoil too much because I want you to go play for yourself, but I am a story lover. Most of my content over here is actually built up off of playing and reacting to different stories in games like this. And I like to say I kind of have a high standard for the things I like. I mean, there's things that across the board I think everybody will like, but this in particular, I think they're world building very well, especially when you meet her. There's so much mystery around this character too, and also, oh my god, I almost forgot. They added really good humor around characters like Snow, because this little thing's apparently called a Luno. Very quickly, I realized that, well, Lunos all look the same, just a little different. Hello, kid. Luno with a hammer. What? What? Okay, man. So we just had this Luno Smith working here. That was hilarious. So there's a good balance of some serious themes, some mystery, and some comedy as well. Overall, I had a good time. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Not gonna go as high on this score as the others, because the others just like blew me out of the water. But as a whole experience, man, this has been very, very fun. Now, taking everything we've looked at and putting it together, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10 first playthrough experience. I am a sucker for the gameplay they've gone for. I think the story could be really good. I would say the same thing if they weren't sponsoring today too. Let me know what you think down below. If you want to try it out for yourself, I'll have info down below as to when you can play it, but I think this could be something cool. I hope it is. I hope they keep the same direction up. Thank you again to Duet Night Abyss for sponsoring the channel today. It's always great to work with companies like this who have such great products to actually check out and enjoy. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go stare at her for the rest of my life.